And when they kicked your door in and they saw a letter that you wrote or a letter that was sent to you, or that you had a publication in your house from someone who was saying, we need to rebel against King George, they'd have you arrested. They'd take you right then, probably go out and shoot you for being a rebel. Due process. Okay? Civil rights. The framers of this contract said, we're going to limit the government. The government will not have a right to just go in and go through your papers and effects looking to see if you've done something wrong. The contract said that they couldn't do that. Not unless a judge whose enumerated power gives him the authority to rule in a case where the police say, we have evidence that leads us to believe that the crime is being committed or in the process of being committed at such and such place, and we believe the evidence is there by witnesses that have come forward to us. The judge says, I think you have enough evidence. You have a piece of paper, search warrant, that says you can search through these drawers, under these cabinets, you can search in this room, and you can only look for this thing right here. But the government, according to the contract, does not have the right to just go through your emails, text messages, cell phone calls, internet data history, books that you order, music that you're downloading, or newspapers that you read, or Bibles that you look at, or Watchman video broadcasts that you watch. They don't have a right to go in and, without your permission, to go in and just find out to see if there's... We're going to try to do something. We're going to see if what they're doing is wrong. That was limited powers by the contract. Why? Because God said that the governors should never be lifted up above those that they govern. That was God's law. You know what? We're seeing it in the church. When we elevate the clergy over the people, we will tell you what God said. And God said, no, it's all right here, so that you, as the clergy, are not lifted up above the people that you're over in your congregation. You see how it works? Okay? This is actually out of the United Kingdom. Christians have no right to wear a cross at work, says the government. In a highly significant move, ministers will fight a case at the European Court of Human Rights in which two British women will seek to establish their right to display the cross. The British government is the one that sanctioned this book. And now, did you know that Great Britain has an official religion? It's Christianity. And now the British government says that if you go to work, you do not have a right to tell anybody that you're a Christian or display this symbol. You have no right. It's against the contract. Here's something recent. Contraception mandate violates religious liberty. You know what Obama was doing? Obama basically said, "That's my new health care bill," which, by the way, is not in the contract. The whole health care law, not here. Okay? It's not even his power to make you buy health care according to the contract. Okay? But then he comes out and says, we're going to require religious institutions that hire people to make them pay for contraceptive health. You know what that means? Abortion. We're going to make you pay for it. One of your employees, if you work at a church, one of your employees wants to have an abortion, even if it's against your religious teaching, the law says you have to pay for it. Now, part of this document said, Congress shall enact no law establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That was the contract that we agreed to. And now the president just says, I think this is what we need. And he has no right to do it. All the judges may say he can do that. All of the liberals say he can do that. This says that he can't. He has no right to do that. Let's see here. What else can we find here? Congress criminalizing First Amendment. In a plan that started out as a knee-jerk reaction to a crazed assailant's attack on U.S. Representative Gabby Giffords a year ago, Congress has approved and sent to President Obama legislation that critics say essentially guts the First Amendment. Here is what is H.R. 347. Here's what H.R. 347 says. H.R. 347 says, whoever knowingly enters or remains in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority to do so, knowingly and with intent to impede or disrupt the orderly conduct of government business or official functions, engages in blah, blah. Let me tell you what it really means. Okay? Here's what it's going to allow. If a politician is at a place and they're giving a speech, okay, you will no longer have a right to assemble and protest that representative or that politician or whatever. You'll no longer have a right. You'll no longer have a right to assemble and use free speech. And yet this contract gives us the right to publicly assemble and say whatever we want to say about the governors, the politicians, the president, and the Congress. The contract says we can do that. Here's another one. I'm almost done. Kids fight on for recess Bible study. An attorney for then fourth grader who was prohibited by school officials from holding a Bible study with his friends at recess time says an appeals court will be hearing the case to clear up misunderstandings and even misrepresentations about the situation. A kid, a fourth grade kid, is such a terror to the United States that all they wanted to do during their time was have a Bible study. And the school officials said, that's against the government. No, it's not. No, it's not. Congress shall enact no law establishing a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's the contract. If they go after the fourth graders holding Bible studies at recess, outside of the contract, what else will they do? Do you trust thieves? Do you trust liars? If they can be allowed to go outside of the contract to go after a fourth grader for holding a Bible study, then those of you who are trying to go to church, preach against sodomy, preach against things of what I'm doing right now, at what point will they come after the rest of us? You see where I'm going? Now, I mentioned earlier, and I've been trying to lay this out for you, where does authority come from? And this thought came to me as I'm just sort of meditating today, not going, I'm actually thinking about these scriptures and what it means. Remember back in Deuteronomy chapter 17, God said, the guy that's going to rule over you, the king, you're going to have a king over you. I'm going to put it in his heart that he's going to write him a copy of this book. The reason being is that everybody needs to be equal. Those that rule and those that they rule over, my book is going to guarantee that they are the same, that they are equal, that one is not lifted up above the other. You know what I'm holding right here in my hand? I'm holding the living proof of what God said. Here is one of the early publications of the 1611 Bible. It says the Holy Bible, containing the Old Testament and the New, newly translated out of the original tongues with the former translations diligently compared and revised. Listen to this now. By His Majesty's special commandment. I actually happen to be holding in my hand the only Bible in the entire history of Bibles that was commanded to be translated and written out by a king. We call it the King James Bible. You know why King James wanted this book? God put it in his heart according to what he said in Deuteronomy 17. King James, God put it there. King James knew that the Church of England was wrong. He knew that the Puritans were wrong. They're fighting one another. He said, everybody's going to be equal. We're going to have a Bible that is going to make everybody equal. The principles that came out of this and its predecessor, the Geneva Bible, actually came across the Atlantic Ocean into this country. And this Bible and its principles, and this principle of Deuteronomy 17, was the founding principle upon which this was based. You see, the early framers said, we're not going to have a king. We're not going to have a king. We're not going to have someone who thinks that they're above and better than everybody else. Notice in this country, we don't give titles to those who are in office such as Lord, Your Majesty, Your Highness. About the most that we give is to a judge, Your Honor, and to the President, Mr. President. Okay? The governor, the Honorable such and such. We don't call anybody His Majesty, His Royal Highness, Lord. Not in America. Do you know why? Because God made us a contract. And God said to the king, I want you to write out a copy of the book that I give you so that the government and those that are governed are equal. We should still be living under the contract, but principalities is removing this country. They've removed the church. Now they are removing this country from the covenant, the testament, the contract. Principalities moved in. Think of Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, Jesus. Psalm 118:9 says, it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. Why? Princes don't like the contract. They will think that they can do whatever they want to, even though the contract says that they can't. So it's just better to trust the Lord. Hope you've learned something this week. We got a long way to go in America before we're back right with God. And it starts with you. This is Pastor Mike. I love you. God bless you. We'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.